Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Biofingerprints. In our first video, we have already discussed about cells and formation of tissues. Please check the link that is pasted in the description box. Okay, let's revise about tissues. So tissues are a group of cells which have similar structure and perform specific function when act together. Right. So in this video, we are going to study about plant tissues, their subtypes, means classification, structure, location and functions. Now come to plant tissues. So plant tissues are divided into two types, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. What are meristematic tissues? Meristematic tissues are those tissues which are made up of such cells which are actively dividing. So they are made up of actively dividing cells, and yes, they are present at the tip of root and shoot. Tip of the root and shoot. Shoot means stem or leaf, and when such cells stop dividing, when such cells attain maturity, after a certain period of time, they transform into permanent tissues. Permanent tissues, the name suggests here that now they are permanent or now they are fixed. They cannot divide further. Now, types of meristematic tissues. First, we are going to discuss about meristematic tissues. So, meristematic tissues are divided into three parts: apical meristematic tissues or simple apical meristem, intercalary meristematic tissues or simple intercalary meristem, and number 3, lateral meristematic tissues or secondary meristematic tissues or simple lateral or secondary meristem. Apical meristem is further divided into two main parts: shoot apical meristem and root apical meristem. So shoot apical meristem, this is responsible for the growth of stem, and root apical meristem is responsible for the growth of root. So apical meristem is present at the apex part or the top part. Apex part or the top part of the plant. So shoot apical meristem is present at the apex part of the plant or the apex of the stem, or root apical meristem is present at the apex of the root or tip of the root. It is responsible for the growth of stem and this is responsible for the growth of root. Now come to the intercalary meristem. So this is present between the space of two nodes. Do you know what is the meaning of two nodes? Okay, I am telling you. Now for example, this is a part from where this leaf arises, and this is another part from where another leaf arises. So these points are known as nodes, and this space between these two nodes is known as internode. So intercalary meristem is present on the internode, and this is responsible for increasing the length of internode. So I am writing here the function. It helps to increase the length of the internode. Now come to the third type, that is lateral meristem or secondary meristem. So this is present on the basal part of the plant, and this was about the location that it is present and what is the function which it performs. So it is responsible for secondary growth of the plant or increase in stem girth and thickness, like this, not lengthwise. Now come to permanent tissues. Permanent tissues are divided into two main parts: simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissues are further divided into three main parts: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Complex permanent tissues are further divided into two parts: xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem both can be divided into four main parts, which we will discuss later. Now come to simple permanent tissues first. So why are they known as simple permanent tissues? This is because the cells by which such tissues are made, they are of similar structure which perform similar function also, and they are known as complex permanent tissues. Why complex? Because the cells by which such tissues are made, they are of different type. It means more than one type, and when they coordinate, they perform same function. They are made up of similar type of cells which perform similar functions also. And complex permanent tissues are known so because they are made up of different type of cells, but when they coordinate, They perform same function. Now, simple permanent tissues are further divided into three parts: parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. So let's discuss about parenchyma tissues first. Parenchyma tissues, they are made up of living cells and they have intercellular spaces. If you could see, they are the intercellular spaces among cells. They have intercellular spaces and they are of irregular shape. Now come to the location of parenchyma tissues. Parenchyma tissues are generally present on the soft parts of the plant. Now the cell wall, nature of cell wall and cell wall component. So cell wall is thin and it is made up of a special component known as cellulose. Now come to the function of parenchyma tissues. Parenchyma tissues are involved in photosynthesis. They also store food. They are involved in gaseous exchange. And yes, if you could see the structure of a parenchyma tissue, so it has a nucleus and large vacuole and a cytoplasm also. Parenchyma tissues, depending on their functions, they are divided into further two types: chlorenchyma and erenchyma. When parenchyma is involved in photosynthesis, they are known as chlorenchyma. Here chlorine suggests chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is green pigment which is responsible for catching sunlight to carry out the process of photosynthesis. And when parenchyma tissues are involved in providing bioavailability to the aquatic plants, they are known as erenchyma. Here eren means air, cavities. Now come to collenchyma. So collenchyma tissues are also made up of living cells. They have very little intercellular spaces. And one more important function, they have thickenings at the corners. Here is a way how you can remember this special feature in collenchyma. So here C for collenchyma and C for corner. Now come to the location of collenchyma tissues. Collenchyma tissues are present in the petiole part of the leaf and young stem. Do you know what is the main function of this petiole? This is petiole. This is the part from where this leaf arises, part from where the leaf is attached on the stem. Now come to the nature of cell wall in collenchyma tissues. So cell wall is uneven and thin. Cell wall is made up of cellulose and pectin. But in parenchyma tissues, the cell wall is made up of only cellulose material. And what is the main functions of these collenchyma tissues? These tissues provide mechanical support to the plant. They also help to resist the bending and stretching by wind. Now come to the structure of sclerenchyma tissues. Sclerenchyma tissues are made up of dead cells. They have no intercellular spaces among them. Now come to the location of sclerenchyma tissues. They are present on the mature parts of the plant. What about the cell wall nature? The cell wall is thick and rigid and it is made up of lignin, which is made up of waterproof substance. Now come to the function of sclerenchyma tissues. Sclerenchyma tissues provide mechanical support to the plant. They also provide protection. They also help in transportation of both water and nutrients. So these are the differences among parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma based on their structures, and these differences we have already discussed. Now come to complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissues are also known as vascular tissues. They are also known as conducting tissues. So complex permanent tissues or vascular tissues or conducting tissues, they are of two types: xylem and phloem. So xylem, what is the main function of the xylem? So xylem conducts water and minerals from roots to leaves, and phloem conducts food from leaves to all parts of the plant. Xylem is composed of mainly dead elements and phloem is composed of mainly living elements. Xylem, the transport is unidirectional, and in phloem the transport is bidirectional. Both upward and downward. Xylem. Xylem is divided into four main components: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers. We will discuss later. The structure and function of all these four types will discuss later. Phloem has four types of cells or components of elements: phloem fibers, sieve tubes, companion cells, and phloem parenchyma. Their structure and functions also we are going to discuss later. Now, elements or tissues or components of xylem. So, xylem is divided into four main parts: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fiber. Now, first we are going to cover xylem tracheids. So, here in this image, if you could see, the structure is somewhat elongated. So, tracheids are elongated in shape. They are tube-like structure and they have tapered ends. They have tapered ends, somewhat pointed ends. Now, what is the main function of tracheids? And yes, one more important thing before I proceed to the functions of tracheids. The cell wall of tracheids is perforated. Perforated cell walls means they have perforations or pits or pores. Now come to the function of tracheids. So trachete is involved in the transportation of both water and minerals. So transportation of water and minerals. Now second element is tracheae or vessels. So they are made up of short and tubular cells. Cells are short and tubular. So this cell wall is lignified. It means the cell wall is made up of lignin, and if you could see, they have large central cavity. This large central cavity, this is known as lumen. Lumen. This is the large central cavity. Now come to the function of trachea. Now come to the function of tracheae or vessels. So they are involved in mechanical support. They provide mechanical support to the plant and they help in the conduction of water and minerals. Minerals and water conduction. Now come to the third type, xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma is only living cells. They are made up of only living cells. Now come to the function of xylem parenchyma. Xylem parenchyma stores starch, fats or lipids. Next function is transportation of water for small distances, only for small distances. Transportation of water for small distances. Now come to the fourth element, that is xylem fiber. So xylem fibers are made up of dead cells. Rest of the elements are also made up of dead cells and they have lignin in their cell wall. Now come to the function of xylem fiber. Sorry, I wrote FIBER, but it's FIBRE here. Now come to the function. So xylem fibers help in the transportation of water and provide mechanical support. So number one function, mechanical support and transportation of water. Now come to the elements or tissues or components of phloem. So we can see all these four elements in a single diagram. First we are going to cover about the sieve tube cells or the sieve tube elements. So if you could see here, these are sieve tubes. These are the sieve tubes, and sieve tube elements or sieve tubes, so they are made up of long and tube-like cells, and they are present in the association with companion cells. If you could see this yellow part, this is companion cell, this is companion cell. So sieve tube is present with the companion cell. This sieve tube is also present with this companion cell, right? So they are present in the association with companion cells. And yes, their end walls have perforations. They have some perforations. Can you see these perforations or these pores? These are the perforations which are present at their end walls. So their end walls have perforations or pores. So this is in a way similar to a sieve to form sieve plates. So here nucleus is absent in sieve tubes. There is no nucleus, but yes, a large vacuole is present. A large vacuole is present. Now come to the function of the sieve tube elements. Number 1, transport of sugars in the form of carbohydrates and nutrients up and down. So therefore phloem is known for its bidirectional flow. Now come to the second element or tissue or component of phloem, that is companion cells. So companion cells are parenchymatous cells actually, and what is the main function which these cells perform? So their name suggests companion, means friend. So they help in maintaining the pressure inside the sieve tubes to avoid to get them collapsed. Since companion cells help sieve tube elements, therefore it is named so. Companion means friend, for help. Now come to the third element or tissue or component of phloem, that is phloem parenchyma. So the cells are elongated. Cells are elongated and tapered. I am writing here also. Cells are elongated and tapered. Inside the structure of this phloem parenchyma, you could see yellow part. This is nucleus. So yes, nucleus and cytoplasm both are present, because this green part is the cytoplasm. So both nucleus and cytoplasm are present. The cells are interconnected with each other through some passages known as plasmodesmata. Here are some connections, or the connecting link is known as plasmodesmata. So each cell is connected to one another with the help of some interconnected passage known as plasmodesmata. Now come to the function of phloem parenchyma. So phloem parenchyma is involved in food storage. So number 1, storage of food, and number 2, mechanical strength. They provide mechanical strength to the plant. Now fourth type of element is phloem fibers. Phloem fibers are present here in this space. In this space, phloem fibers are present. So phloem fibers are also known as bast fibers, and they are made up of sclerenchyma cells. They are elongated and they have pointed apexes. Yes, they have pointed apexes. And yes, the cell walls are thick. They become dead at maturity because they lose their protoplasm when they attain maturity. So they are commercially used in jute, hemp and flax. and their main function is to store starch. Now there are some special type of tissues present in the plants. Those are protective tissues. Protective tissues, so their name suggests actually their main function or feature, that is protection, to provide protection. So they provide protection to the plant body from mechanical injury or infection or desiccation. So their main function is to provide protection. And their location, they are located in the outermost layer of the plant parts. Outermost layer of the plant parts. For example, the outermost layer of the leaves, outermost layer of the stems, and outermost layer of the roots. Now come to the type of protection which such tissues provide. They provide protection from mechanical injuries. They also provide protection from infections. It means they form a protective barrier which doesn't let the pathogen into the plant. Pathogen is the disease causing organism. So they don't allow the pathogen to get inside the plant. And desiccation. Now protective tissues are of two types, cork and epidermis. First we are going to cover cork. So how do cork and epidermis perform protective functions? So cork, they are thick and they secrete a chemical substance known as suberin. So basically this suberin protects the underlying tissues of the plant. Now second type is epidermis. So this is the outer layer of a leaf or stem or root which is covered by cuticle. So cuticle is a waxy substance which is waterproof also and prevents excessive transpiration also. Excessive transpiration means excessive loss of water from the aerial parts of the plant and also protect from injury and infections also. So this was all about plant tissues. Thank you so much for watching my video. Please like, subscribe and share, and in our next video we'll cover animal tissues.